Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. My name is Brody Lineweber. I'm with Lineweber Insurance Agency. And what we'll be discussing in this presentation is insurance rates here in Colorado. First thing I want to make mention of is your insurance rates can and will increase in 2024 without any fault or doing of your own. It's out of your control, but that's what we're going to be discussing here today. So what I'd like to jump into first is the causes. We have a top three, which is hyperinflation, continued hail here in Colorado, wildfires from Louisville, and new Colorado legislation. I'm also going to cover what you can expect and what it is you can do. And so moving to the first slide here, hyperinflation. What this graph shows is the cost of goods here in the Denver metro area, Denver, Aurora, Lakewood. And I've also included in the email I've sent to you as well and in this presentation, the links to where we've obtained this information. And what you can see here is the very steep rise in cost of goods between 2020 and the middle of 2022. How does inflation play into insurance and what does it drive? It increases the cost of building materials, vehicle parts, the cost of contractors and labor, vehicle labor, the overall insurance workforce receives higher salaries, and always a concern, the medical bills and those costs. And those are the things that insurance covers you for. So when those things increase in cost, so does your insurance. I also wanted to make mention, due to the low unemployment rates, carriers are really struggling to find good help when it comes to claims adjusters. So we've had a few situations where less than favorable claims experiences due to low staffing on the claims adjuster space. And also make an important note, we've also noticed significant increase in vehicle repair and body shop labor. And so moving on here, hail is nothing new to the state of Colorado. We've dealt with this truly since 2009. Beforehand, we'd have reports, but a few, but not many. And then we did get a break in 2010, and we went right back 2011, then a break in 2012. Since then, the state of Colorado has averaged over 20 hail events in the last 10 years or so. And this challenge has continued to cause insurance rates to rise and carriers to take action because the cost of a roof has also doubled, if not tripled, in the last 10 years. I've included the website below of where we obtain this information and also in the email. Moving on to wildfires. I don't want to discuss wildfires too much. We all heard the news. We know how many homes were affected by the wildfires. But what that did drive is new Colorado legislation and bills to be passed because the state learned from those, and so did the insurance carriers. HB 111, insurers must cover 65% of the personal property limit with no inventory requirement. What that means is, in the event of a total loss, if your personal property coverage is 300,000, that's a fair average across all our clients. The insurance company is required to write you a check for 65% of that amount with no questions asked. They're not going to require you to turn in anything or prove that you own anything. The carrier is required to write you a check for 65%. If you feel the amount should be more than that, then you will be required to do an inventory and prove all the items in your home to get in excess of that amount. It's important to note that prior to this bill, the limit was 35% set back in 2013. Bill HB 231068. A lot of people were really excited about this bill. This restricts insurance companies from denying coverage based on the breed of dog. So there's no longer any dog discrimination out there. And that's another thing that the insurance companies are going to have to cover for. And then we got House Bill 23174. There's two parts that passed in this bill. Carriers must now offer 20% law and ordinance coverage. Historically, that was 10%. But what they learned during the wildfires in Louisville is most of those houses needed at least 50% law and ordinance coverage to be brought back to whole. And so now they have increased the amount percentage that they are required to cover in those situations. And finally and lastly, every insurance carrier is required to offer at least 150% or 50% additional replacement cost on the policy. And when this happens, it's awesome that the state wants to partner with the consumer and increase coverages. But in turn, what actually happens is, since the insurance company is required to now cover for these items, they need to increase the premiums in order to cover for these items. So that's why everybody's insurance rate is increasing. All right. I want you guys to know that this isn't exclusive to Colorado. The inflation has national implications, and I found a great article out there which I've shared in here with you, and the important stats I want you to pay attention to. In 2022, nationally, between auto and home insurance, the industry suffered 26.9 billion in underwriting loss. That was up 6 times the amount from 2021, which was 3.8 billion. And in order for them to recover from those losses, they need to increase premiums. Additionally, in 2022, the loss adjustment expenses grew by 14.1%, while the premiums only grew by 8.3%. So that's across the board, across all carriers. It gives them no choice but to increase rates. What you can expect moving forward. Carriers are way less inclined to write home insurance here in Colorado, and they're less inclined to write auto insurance as well. But most carriers are trying not to write home insurance in Colorado. And the actions they are taking to make that more challenging is, before they'll even issue a policy, they're requiring the consumer to pay for an inspection report and submit that to get underwritten before they'll even issue the policy. Historically, they would issue the policy and do their own inspection after. Additionally, they may require a homeowner to take photos of the plumbing underneath the sinks to make sure that it meets their underwriting guidelines, or a photo of the power box, making sure that the electricity is up to code. What we have seen in this agency is average auto and home insurance rate increases between 20 and 50%. That's not to say that your policy might only increase by 10%, or it could increase by 100%. We've also seen a range of increases on auto and home insurance between $500 a year and $3,000 a year. That's not to say that your policy may only go up by $300 a year. And at that point, what I suggest you do is consider sending your carrier a bottle of wine, because $300 a year increase, given this environment, is a very favorable increase. All right. Carriers will no longer accept home insurance risks with more than one home insurance claim within the last 5 years. So it's important that you consider that factor before ever turning in a home insurance claim. Another action that carriers have taken is, at this time, you can expect no less than a minimum wind-hail deductible of $2,500. What we see out there, it's probably going to be moving to a $5,000 wind-hail deductible, or a 1% wind-hail deductible, which you need to educate yourself on what that means, and we will gladly do that for you. Please don't hesitate to give us a call. And lastly, what you may find on your policy is a roof depreciation schedule. Some of our carriers currently do offer that as an option. We steer against it, because what that means is, as your roof gets older, the coverage amount that the carrier covers for is less. So if a roof is 5 years old, between the depreciation and the deductible, you may be responsible for up to half the cost of your roof. I want you to know, guys, that you are not alone. I myself had a home insurance policy less than a year ago for $2,000 a year. And the carrier that I wrote my policy with decided to leave the state. And now the best rate I could find on my home insurance policy is $5,000 a year. What I've included on this slide for you is a list of all our renewals in our agency, auto and home insurance included, and the rate percentage increases we are seeing across the board within the agency. And this is from April 20th of 2024 to May 24th. We haven't gotten all of May yet, so you'll notice that those kind of drop off. We usually get a notice about 30 to 45 days in advance of your renewal. What can you do? Shopping your insurance may not be a good use of your time. I've included an article here from Denver 7, which references a consumer noticed a significant rate increase on their home insurance, went to the market to shop it, and was unable to find anything favorable. If you simply go and Google Colorado insurance rate increases, you're going to find that every single news outlet has articles or reports regarding these issues. A few things I want to mention to you. Even if you do find a carrier with a better rate, it's very likely that they've done one of two things. They've either stripped away very important coverages to make the rate look favorable, or they may very well have written a good policy for you at a more favorable rate. But what I can assure you is that at your next renewal, you're going to suffer the same issues with the renewal going up by potentially $3,000 a year. All right. I also wanted to mention, if you change to a new carrier who's not very familiar with the state or hasn't been in the state very long, like me, you may be able to get that favorable rate, but before you know it, that carrier may leave the state and you may be left with less options. All right. Another thing I would advise, never turn in a home insurance claim less than $5,000. You should always contact the agency before turning in a claim so we can do some counseling for you on what the implications are of doing so. I would also, and auto insurance, same thing, always contact the agency. For home insurance, all check the age of your roof on your home insurance policy. We do not get notified if you have a hail claim and have replaced the roof. They do not notify us that you've completed the replacement of the roof. So check your policy and then make sure that the roof date is correct. If it is not, please reach out to us. This will result in a much more favorable home insurance rate for you. Increase your home deductible to 5,000. Currently, the industry standard is between 1,000 and 2,500. Before this is over, I foresee that the new standard deductible for home insurance in Colorado will be 5,000, and so you can increase that to help mitigate the increased cost. For auto insurance, the normal industry standard was $500. I see that moving to $1,000. And these are two deductibles on separate products that can result in a more beneficial rate for you. For auto insurance, consider a telematics program. This is monitoring and can be downloaded through an app. All of our carriers currently offer this at a substantial discount. It can be downloaded through an app, or some of our carriers have the option of putting a device in each of the vehicles or select vehicles that you believe you do not drive often. I foresee the industry moving towards this in the coming years to where everybody's going to be required to download an app or put this device in. So it might be best for you to take advantage of the discounts while you can. And lastly, if your credit score is improved significantly, please reach out to us so we can counsel you. We can reorder what's called an insurance score, which is credit-based, and can result in a better insurance rate. However, I do want to mention that it is possible that if the insurance score gets worse, they can increase your rate. So we would only want you to do this if you believe that your insurance or your credit score is increased dramatically. I'd like to thank you so much today. I want you to know that Lineweber Insurance always has your best interest at mind. We thank you for your continued business, and we look forward to being your servicing agency for the years to come. Okay.